Imagine a workforce of over 56 crore people.
Wow.
That is not just a number, that is a continent. It is the engine of the Indian economy. It is massive, it is complex, and frankly, it is moving faster than our textbooks can keep up with.
It really is.
But here's the twist, and this is what we're digging into today. We're no longer just talking about finding jobs. That conversation is evolving. The government and the economy itself is pivoting entirely to the quality and dignity of work.
Exactly. And for everyone listening, especially our UPSC aspirants, this isn't just data points on a graph to memorize.
No.
This shift is the answer key to understanding the demographic dividend, the structural explosion of the gig economy, and why skilling has suddenly become the new currency of development. If you don't understand this pivot, you don't understand the Indian economy in 2026.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is a very special episode powered by the Simplified UPSC by PPP YouTube channel. If you're serious about cracking the exam or just insanely curious about how India actually works, you are in the right place.
It is great to be here. And before we get into the heavy lifting, and trust me, there is some heavy lifting today, we have to mention the community that makes this possible.
Absolutely. If you haven't already, please, and this is a humble request, go and subscribe to the Simplified UPSC by PPP YouTube channel.
It really helps.
And here's the deal. If you are capable, and only if you are capable, please consider joining the paid membership on YouTube. It really supports the creation of this super useful content. We pour a lot of hours into this, and your support keeps the lights on.
We want to give a massive, warm shout out to all our existing members. You guys are the backbone of this operation.
You really are.
Please hit like, share the content, and leave your valuable comments. We read them all, and they actually shape how we do these deep dives.
And for resources, because you can't just listen, you have to revise, I want to notify all listeners that free notes with practice past year questions, PYQs, are available right now on the Telegram channel.
Go grab those.
Go download them.
And for the Legend YouTube members, you know who you are. The premium notes, which include extra PYQs and crucially model mains answers, are waiting for you on the Discord channel specifically for Legends. So do join there if you haven't yet.
All right, mission statement time. What are we doing today?
We're doing a line-by-line comprehensive analysis of Chapter 12, Employment and Skill Development, Getting Skilling Right from the Economic Survey 2025-26.
And let me be clear. No summaries, no skipping the boring parts. We are going deep into every paragraph, every box, and every chart.
Let's unpack this.
Let's do it. Let's start with Section 1, the employment landscape. The survey opens in paragraph 12.1 with a very strong statement. It says the narrative has shifted post-pandemic. It's not just about jobs anymore.
No.
It's about decent employment. But I have to play devil's advocate here immediately. We see these headlines, but then we look at the news and hear about a job crisis. Is this pivot to quality just a way to distract from the quantity issue?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? But the survey argues that the structure of the economy is fundamentally changing.
How so?
It identifies three massive drivers causing a transformation in our labor markets: digitalization, the green energy transition, and the rise of the gig economy.
Okay.
These aren't just buzzwords. They are changing how people work. It's not just about creating a factory job anymore. It's about how a worker interacts with a platform or, a solar plant.
And this directly links to a classic problem we faced for decades, right? This demographic dividend idea.
It does. I'm glad you brought that up. If you look at Maine's 2014 question 16, it asked, demographic dividend in India will remain only theoretical unless our manpower becomes more educated, aware, skilled, and creative.
Theoretical. That's a scary word for an economy. You don't want a theoretical dividend.
It is. The survey is essentially admitting that for a long time, this gap existed. By shifting focus from just quantity of jobs to quality and skilling, the government is finally trying to make that dividend practical.
Not theoretical.
Exactly. If you just have bodies, but they aren't skilled or in decent work, that dividend is a disaster waiting to happen.
So let's look at the numbers. The survey cites the Periodic Labor Force Survey, or PLFS, and the ASI data. We're in paragraphs 12.7 and 12.8 now. They describe the market as steady.
Steady is the word they use. The data shows a declining unemployment rate, or UR, and a stabilizing labor force participation rate, the LFPR.
Okay, so things are holding up.
But here's the specific stat that blew my mind, and I want our listeners to really visualize this. In just the second quarter of FY26, that's July to September 2025, we had 56.2 crore people employed.
56.2 crore. That's basically the combined population of the United States, Germany, and the UK, all working in India.
Yes. And just between Q1 and Q2 of that year, the economy added 8.7 lakh new jobs. That is substantial momentum.
And there is always a but. We have to talk about where these people are working. Paragraph 12.NN points out that despite all this talk of AI in manufacturing, agriculture is still the giant in the room.
It is huge, and crucially, it is seasonal. The survey makes a fascinating point here that challenges how we think about occupation.
What do you mean?
We tend to label people. He is a farmer, or she's a construction worker.
Right. One person, one label.
But the survey says, no, that's not how it works on the ground. There's a lot of movement. Workers migrate between farm and non-farm work depending on the season.
So you might harvest in April, move to the city for construction in May, then go back for sowing in July.
Precisely. That is why the policy priority is decent work in agriculture, because for many, it's still the primary safety net. You cannot simply industrialize 56 core people overnight. You have to make the agricultural work they fall back on more viable.
Okay, that's a key insight. Let's pivot to the gender dimension. Paragraph 12.11. The numbers for women in the workforce are up, especially in rural areas. The headline looks great.
It does.
But again, are we looking at the full picture?
We have to look closer. There is a massive nuance here. High participation in rural areas is great, but a large chunk of it is in self-employment, or what the data calls helpers in household enterprises.
Helpers in household enterprises. That sounds like a euphemism. It sounds like working on the family farm or in the family shop, often without a formal salary.
That's precisely what it is. It's unpaid or low paid.
Okay.
Now, the question is why? Why aren't they in formal 9-to-5 jobs? Is it just a lack of education?
I expect it's more complex than that.
It is. This brings us to box 12.1, which analyzes the time use survey. If you were a sociology student writing an essay on gender, this box is absolute gold.
Okay.
It talks about the dual burden.
The burden of work and home.
Yes. The time use survey measures minutes. It shows that women are juggling caregiving, household chores, and unpaid work for hours every single day. Men, statistically negligible.
So because of this massive time debt at home, women often prefer flexible, independent work over rigid factory hours.
They don't just prefer it, they're often forced into it. That makes so much sense, right? If you have to cook, clean, and care for elderly parents, you can't commute an hour to a factory for a strict 9-to-5 shift.
Yeah.
You need that flexibility.
Wow.
And this connects directly to Maine's 2014 question 11.
Okay, what was that one?
It asked, how does patriarchy impact the position of a middle-class working woman in India?
Wow. Okay, connect that for me.
The survey provides the economic evidence for that sociological question. The patriarchy here manifests as the expectation of unpaid care work.
Right.
This expectation economically forces women into irregular or self-employed roles because the formal sector often doesn't offer the flexibility they need. Patriarchy essentially acts as a tax on their time, pushing them out of the best jobs.
That is a powerful way to frame it. It's not just culture, it's hard economics.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to Section 2. The unorganized and manufacturing sectors. We talk about the unorganized sector constantly, but how do we even track these workers? They don't have pay slips. They're off the books, right?
Well, not anymore. Enter the e-Shram portal. This is discussed in paragraphs 12.13 to 12.119. It started as a database, but it has become a game changer.
The survey calls it a one-stop solution. Is that just marketing?
I don't think so. It really is becoming that. First, let's define who an unorganized worker is, because the survey is specific.
Please.
According to the Code on Social Security, it's a home-based worker, a self-employed worker, or a wage worker who is not covered by the Industrial Disputes Act. e-Shram registers them.
So it's a list.
It was a list. Now it's a platform. It integrates with everything.
Everything.
Yeah, it talks to the NCS, the National Career Service, for finding jobs. It talks to SIDH, the Skill India Digital Hub, for skilling. It links to EPFO and ESIC for Social Security.
So if I'm a construction worker, I register on e-Shram, and suddenly I can see jobs, training, and pension options all in one place.
Exactly. As of September 2025, there are over 5.9 crore registered job seekers on the platform. And get this, vacancies mobilized crossed 2.3 crore. It is bridging the information asymmetry that used to keep poor people poor.
That's huge. Let's shift gears to the factories. Organized manufacturing. We are looking at the Annual Survey of Industries, the ASI data in paragraph 12.2 cell. What's the story there?
This sector is showing resilience. We saw a 6% year-on-year increase in employment in FY24. That's steady growth.
Okay, good news.
But the quality is improving too. The net value added, or NVA, per person is rising.
So workers are becoming more productive. We're getting more value out of each employee.
Yes. And here is where it gets really interesting for our listeners. Look at chart 12.8 to 12.11. The survey makes a size matters argument.
Bigger factories are better. That sounds like a generalization.
But statistically, it holds up. The data shows that large factories, those with more than 100 workers, pay higher wages and have significantly higher productivity than small ones.
Why is that? What's the mechanism?
It's economies of scale. A factory with 500 workers can afford better machines, better safety gear, and better compliance teams. A factory with 10 workers is often struggling just to survive. The survey is hinting that if we want better wages, we need our companies to stop being dwarfs and start growing.
And these big factories are not evenly spread, are they?
No, not at all. They are clustered. Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. These three states are the top employers in manufacturing. They're the powerhouses.
That reminds me of a question from Maine's 2020, question 7. It asks to account for the present location of iron and steel industries away from the source of raw material.
Exactly. While that question was specific to steel, the principle holds for general manufacturing. Industries cluster where there is infrastructure, logistics, and skilled labor.
So it's not just about raw materials anymore.
Not at all. The survey shows that Tamil Nadu and Gujarat have created these ecosystems of large factories. If you are writing a mains answer on industrial location today, you have to cite this ASI data to show where the jobs are actually going.
Now, before we leave manufacturing, I want to touch on box 12.3. It talks about worker well-being. Usually, economic surveys talk about capital and output. Why are they suddenly talking about feelings?
Because they finally realized that a stressed worker is an unproductive worker.
Simple as that.
This box argues that productivity isn't just about faster machines. It's about the human element. Mental, financial, and physical well-being directly boost productivity. It mentions migrant workers specifically. If they're living in squalor, they can't work well.
So it's a shift from an exploitation mindset to an investment mindset regarding labor.
That's the perfect way to put it, an investment.
That's a powerful shift. Okay, section 3. Catalyzing job growth. This is where the policy heavyweights come in, the labor codes.
Paragraph 12.29 to 12.33. This is the legislative backbone of the whole reform agenda. We had 29 central labor laws.
29? That sounds like an absolute nightmare to navigate.
It was a spaghetti bowl of regulations. Confusing, overlapping, sometimes contradictory. The government consolidated them into just 4 codes.
What are they?
Wages, industrial relations, Social Security, and occupational safety.
What is the philosophy behind this? Is it just to make life easier for the boss?
That's the common criticism, but it's meant to be a balancing act. On one hand, you have regulation protecting worker rights, ensuring safety. On the other hand, flexibility making it easier for businesses to hire, fire, and adapt to market changes.
And box 12.4 analyzes the economics of this simplification.
Yes, it explains that the multiplicity of laws was a compliance nightmare, and it actually discouraged formalization. Small companies didn't want to grow. The moment they hit a certain size, say 50 employees, they got hit with 20 new laws. It was easier to stay small and under the radar.
So the laws were accidentally keeping companies small.
Exactly. The codes simplify this. The goal is to encourage companies to scale up. Remember the size matters point. The codes are the tool to help companies get big enough to pay better wages.
And speaking of flexibility, we have to talk about the gig economy. Paragraph 12.34.
The rise of the platform worker. This is a fundamental structural shift in what a job is.
Explain that.
Traditionally, employment is bipartite, like a marriage. You, the employee, and the company, the employer.
Simple. 2 parties.
But the gig economy is tripartite. It's a love triangle. You have the worker, the platform, like an app, and the consumer.
And for years, the platform has been saying, hey, don't look at us. We're just a tech company. We're a matchmaker.
Exactly. And that let them avoid labor laws for years. But the numbers are now too big to ignore. Gig workers grew from 77 lakh in FY21 to 120 lakh in FY25.
Wow.
And by 2029-30, they are expected to be 6.7% of the total workforce.
That is huge.
So the law has to recognize them.
Yeah.
Which brings us to box 12.5. This is very important for prelims and mains, isn't it? It talks about definitions.
Yes, get your highlighters out for this one. The Code on Social Security legally defines a gig worker for the first time. It defines them as being outside the traditional employer-employee relationship. It also defines an aggregator.
Why does a simple definition matter so much? It's just words on a page. Because once you define them, you can regulate for them. If they aren't legally defined, they're invisible to the law.
They're ghosts in the system.
Precisely. This definition allows the government to create Social Security schemes specifically for Uber drivers, Zomato delivery partners, and freelancers, funded by contributions from the aggregators. It's about bringing the informal into a safety net.
Okay, let's unpack Section 4. The skill ecosystem. We have the people, we have the laws, but do we have the skills? Paragraph 12.41 drops a stat that I honestly found depressing.
It is a massive reality check. The data is stark. Only 4.9% of youth aged 15-29 have formal vocational training.
Wait, say that again? Only 4.9%? That seems incredibly low for a country wanting to be a superpower.
It is. Another 21.2% have informal training. Maybe they learned from a family member or on the job. But formal certification, it's rare.
And what's the cost of that gap?
The opportunity cost is immense. A 2025 study mentioned in the survey says that if we increase the skilled workforce by just 12 percentage points, we could boost employment in labor-intensive sectors by 13%.
So there's a direct link. This links right back to that Maine's 2016 question 16 again, doesn't it?
Completely. The question was about skilled and creative manpower. If only 4.9% are formally skilled, that explains why the demographic dividend feels theoretical. We have the bodies, but not the certification. We are trying to run a Ferrari engine on bicycle tires.
So how do we fix the fragmentation? There are so many ministries and departments running different skilling programs. It feels like chaos.
The survey calls for horizontal and vertical coordination, and the proposed solution is the SIDH Skill India Digital Hub.
I've heard it called the Amazon of skilling. Is that a fair description?
It's a great analogy. It aims to combine education, employment, and entrepreneurship into one single portal.
How does that work in practice?
It uses verified credentials and portable records. So if you get trained in a course in Bihar and then you move to Maharashtra for a job, your digital certificate moves with you on SIDH. You don't have to carry a crumpled piece of paper that no one trusts.
That makes a huge difference. Now, box 12.6 is titled Making Skilling Work. It lays out 5 pillars. This seems like a roadmap for reform.
It is a manifesto for shifting from supply-driven to demand-driven skilling.
What does that mean, supply-driven?
It means we just train people in whatever we could and then hope they'd find a job. Demand-driven means we find out what jobs are available first and then train people for those specific jobs.
Okay, let's break down the 5 pillars. What's number 1?
Pillar 1 is outcomes. Stop funding training centers based on how many people they enroll. Fund them based on how many of their students get a job and keep it.
So you don't pay me for teaching a student. You pay me when that student gets a good job and starts earning.
And keeps that job for, say, 6 months. That changes the incentive completely.
Okay, what's pillar 2?
Employer linkage. Industry must help design the curriculum. If you are training people for machines that factories stopped using 10 years ago, it's a useless waste of public money.
Makes sense. Pillar 3.
Local intelligence. Don't train people for IT jobs in a rural district where the main demand is for textile workers. Map the local economy first.
Stop training blindly. I like it. What's 4?
Pillar 4 is placement as a service. This means professional counseling. Many youth drop out because they don't know what the job actually entails or how to navigate the workplace.
And the last one, pillar 5.
Integrity. The goal is to stop ghost centers.
Ghost centers? What are those?
Training centers that exist only on paper to claim government funds. The survey advocates for digital attendance. You have to log in biometrically to wipe this corruption out.
Wow. That is a comprehensive cleanup. Let's move to Section 5, Strategies for Youth, paragraph 12.46. The idea here is we need to catch them young.
This is the National Education Policy, the NEP 2020 approach. The problem has been that our school system was too focused on pure academics.
Right.
It led to poor school-to-work, or STW, transitions. Students leave school knowing algebra but not knowing how to actually work.
And box 12.7 compares us to the rest of the world on this.
It's a fascinating comparison. Look at Germany. They have the famous dual system. You study and work at a company simultaneously. South Korea has a job-first, university-later model for many. China has huge vocational tracks integrated into their school system.
And what's India doing to catch up?
We are launching initiatives like Kaushal Bodh. This mandates skill education in grades 6th to 8th under the CBSE.
So getting kids exposed to skills early?
Exactly. And things like Kaushal Mela, which are basically skill fairs in schools, the idea is to make skills cool, not something you do if you fail at academics.
There's also a specific mention of Meghalaya's Spark program. Why highlight a single state program?
Because Spark focuses on emotional well-being and resilience training for adolescents. It's acknowledging that soft skills, can you handle stress,
Sure.
can you communicate, are actually core skills.
I see. If you can weld, but you can't show up on time or handle feedback from your boss, you won't keep the job.
You'll be out in a week.
What about colleges? This is covered in paragraph 12.50.
Higher education is getting more modular. The National Credit Framework, or NCRF, is the key here. It allows you to mix academic and vocational credits.
So you can learn philosophy and welding, and both count towards your final degree.
That's the idea. And you have platforms like Sway M+, which are offering industry-aligned digital courses in AI, robotics, and so on. But the biggest shift is in Box 12.8, which talks about apprenticeships. We are moving from internships, which, let's be honest, are often just fetching coffee or photocopying,
Unpaid labor, basically.
to apprenticeship-embedded degrees.
The famous learning while earning.
Exactly. It integrates the workplace into the degree itself. You spend half your time in a real company on real projects getting paid for it.
That sounds like a game changer. Let's look at the industry side. Section 6, paragraph 12.54, PM Vishwakarma. This is a big one.
It is. This is a scheme that's close to the heart of India's cultural economy. It targets traditional artisans, blacksmiths, potters, weavers. It covers 18 traditional trades.
What does it offer them?
There are 30 lakh beneficiaries so far. It gives them toolkits via e-Vouchers, so they get modern tools, not just cash, and it gives them collateral-free loans.
So it's about modernizing tradition without killing the craft itself.
Exactly. It's about giving dignity and economic viability to the Vishwakarmas of India.
And what about the ITIs, the Industrial Training Institutes? They have had a reputation for being, well, let's be polite and say not the first choice for students.
That's putting it mildly. They're being upgraded. New courses in AI and IoT are being introduced. But Box 12.9 highlights the Odisha model as a case study in success.
Okay, what did Odisha do differently?
Their mantra was fix, scale, accelerate. They completely reinvented the image of ITIs. They made them look like corporate campuses, not rundown government buildings.
So they made them aspirational.
They did. They collaborated with IT Singapore to bring in global best practices. They made it cool to go to an ITI. The lesson is, if you make the infrastructure respectful, the students will respect it and they will come.
Now, the million-dollar question again. Who pays for all this? We're in paragraph 12.56.
The survey's very clear. Government funding isn't enough. We need innovative financing.
Like what?
The first one is skill impact bonds.
That sounds complicated. How does it work?
It's actually brilliant. Private investors, like a foundation or a company, pay the upfront cost of training a batch of students.
Okay.
The government only repays the investors if the outcomes, like getting a certain number of students into jobs, are met.
So the taxpayer is protected, the risk is on the investor.
Exactly. It transfers the risk from the taxpayer to the investor. If the training fails and no one gets a job, the investor loses their money, not the public.
That's smart. And Box 12.10 talks about skill vouchers.
This is another game changer. Instead of giving money to the training institute, you give a voucher directly to the student. The student then chooses where to go for training.
Power to the consumer.
Yes. It forces institutes to compete for the student's voucher. If your training is bad, students won't come and you won't get paid. It empowers the learner and forces quality up.
I see a PYQ link here. This feels like it connects to Maine's 2013 question 2.
The one on the FRBM Act and fiscal management.
Yeah.
That's a great connection. That question was about fiscal responsibility. Using instruments like skill impact bonds and vouchers is exactly that. It reduces the immediate fiscal burden and ensures money is only spent on efficient outcomes. It's smart fiscal management applied to social sectors.
Finally, accountability, paragraph 12.62. How do we know any of this is actually working?
We need a skilling scorecard. The survey says we need to move beyond just counting the number of certificates issued. That's a meaningless metric.
So what do we measure instead?
We need longitudinal tracking.
Meaning?
Track the student for 6 to 12 months after they get the job. Use their APARD and e-Shram data.
Yeah.
Did their salary go up? Are they still employed? If a course doesn't lead to higher wages or job retention, the scorecard should reflect that, and the government should stop funding it.
Brutal but necessary. If it's not working, kill it.
Absolutely. We don't have time or money to waste on zombie programs that look good on paper but do nothing in reality.
We are nearing the end. Let's look at the outlook and conclusion. Paragraph 12.68. What's the final summary?
To summarize the road ahead, the survey identifies 4 key trends. 1, employment is growing, driven by structural reforms and tax rationalization.
Okay.
2, formalization is happening, thanks to the labor codes and the digital recognition of the gig economy. 3, skilling is becoming modular and market responsive. We're finally training for the jobs we have, not the jobs we had.
And the fourth point.
The final vision is an integrated digital infrastructure, e-Shram, talking to NCS, talking to SIDH, creating what they call a whole-of-government approach.
It sounds like the different pieces of the puzzle are finally starting to talk to each other.
They are. And in government, that is the biggest victory of all.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Here is something to chew on. We hear a lot about India moving toward strategic indispensability in the world, being essential to global supply chains.
Right.
But as AI rises, will our skilling ecosystem pivot fast enough to value human judgment, creativity, and critical thinking over routine tasks that can be automated? That is the next big test for the Indian learner and the Indian system. We are building a machine for today's jobs, but are we programming it for the jobs of tomorrow?
That is a deep thought to end on. That was the deep dive into Chapter 12. A huge thanks to the team at Simplified UPSC by PPP for the source material.
And if this deep analysis helped you, please consider joining the paid membership on the YouTube channel. It really, truly helps us keep these dives coming.
Big shout out to the Legend members. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much.
And don't forget, free notes and practice PYQs are on the Telegram channel.
Go get them now.
And the premium notes and Model Mains answers are waiting for our Legend members on the Discord channel. Go join now.
Keep learning, keep questioning. See you in the next deep dive.